Wow, it's been a long time since I've done one of these. I think the last late to the party I did was after Sons of Anarchy Season 3 when I finally decided to get into that show. And even then it was just a little write-up on my blog. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, a show which, despite all the buzz, I have only recently decided to watch and finish. I suppose if I want to make this a regular series of videos, then I should probably try and find a format, and I guess a good a place to start as any would be to explain why I never picked up a show in the first place. And for this show, to be honest, the early posters and stills just kinda didn't do it for me. The whole thing looked too soft, too harmless, too kiddie. And while I did feel this was the case for the first little bit of the show's run, the fact that the show's animation grew by leaps and bounds, to the point where it was damn near stunning, the elemental effects especially being very nice. I guess you could say I was guilty of judging a book by its cover, and it's unfortunately not the first time I did this. I pretty much lobbied the same complaints against Spectacular Spider-Man, only to be dead wrong about that show as well. Also, the fact that the show was on Nickelodeon sure didn't help me get excited over the whole thing. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against the network, it's just when I think epic, sprawling action fantasy series with a rich mythology, I sure as hell don't think Nickelodeon, but then again, I was wrong. Completely wrong. It's unlike any show Nickelodeon has ever done, ever. But the final figurative nail in the coffin for me came when I discovered the show's two writers-creators' most recent work in cartoons came from Family Guy. To be fair, it's old funny Family Guy, not new crappy Family Guy, but I digress. When I heard these two were making a show that clearly took its cue from anime, it all seemed like a recipe for disaster, especially when you consider all the other American shows that took its cue from anime at the time. They did not have the best track record, let's just put it that way. Now, despite all that working against me, from time to time my friends would pass on a good word to me about the show, but it wasn't until Leon of Spill.com put the show right up there with Batman the Animated Series as one of the greatest animated series of all time. Now, I really respect all the opinions of the Spill guys. As a matter of fact, they're kind of movie-reviewing heroes to me. So if Leon likes it, then hey, why don't I give it a try? The story as it stands is deceptively simple. 4 nations, each representing one of the 4 elements, live in peace until the evil Fire Nation, who are clearly modeled after Imperial Japan, decide they need to take over everything and declare war on the other nations. And only one person can save the world and end the war. That person is, of course, the Avatar, a Christ-like figure who can master all 4 elemental powers and who has been reincarnated numerous times before. It turns out the newest Avatar is this little monk kid named Aang, the titular Last Airbender, who's essentially Goku by way of Luke Skywalker, with a little dash of Harry Potter for flavor. He's been frozen in the ice for over 100 years until he's rescued by these 2 Eskimo siblings, cynical Sokka, the show's go-to comedy relief, and his optimistic sister Katara, who, by the very nature of being the girl, is of course Aang's love interest. Obviously, the 3 become fast friends and set on a whirlwind journey to save the world, followed closely behind by the Fire Nation, specifically the scarred and banished Prince Zuko, and his war hero tea-loving Uncle Iroh. So that's the story in a nutshell, but what did I really think of it? Well, the answer is I really liked it, especially after I gave the show a few days to sink in after having watched all 3 seasons in about a week. I liked how ambitious the whole series was from the start. I liked how the animation and storytelling got better and more mature as time went on. Hell, by the end they're asking such complex questions as, is murder still murder if it's justified? I love how the show didn't talk down to its younger audience and decided to go for an all-ages sort of appeal. I loved how the creators did their homework and managed to infuse the show with some pretty intelligent representations of things like martial arts, meditation, calligraphy, chakras, all that good stuff. But these things are all superficial. Allow me to cut to the core of the matter and explore the one thing that in my mind decides whether or not a show lives or dies. The thing that keeps people coming back time and time again, and the thing I always look for in a show. And that thing is, of course, the themes of the show. And I'm not just talking about the obvious ones, the ones that Avatar wears on its sleeve. You know, all the stuff about honor, destiny, Eastern philosophy. That stuff is great, but it's not the stuff that I'm going to take away from the show. The stuff I'm going to take away is the amazing juxtaposition, of which, of course, the best example is the mirrored character journeys of Aang and Zuko. 2 young men forced from their homes for 2 very different reasons, and forced to find their own place in legacies that are thousands of years old. I love that sort of thing. I really do. While I'm on the subject, and be honest, even though the Avatar and his friends are the ones that move the story forward, it was always these 2 that kept me coming back. Their relationship, their interplay, their teary reunion at the end. just don't know what's not to love about these two, and that's not just my genuine gravitating towards the villain of any story. I really felt something for these two characters and rooted for them during the entire series. The other theme that really struck me, and also the one that I never hear people bring up, is the one about the terrible toll war takes on family. Katara and Sokka are the obvious examples of this, but everyone really feels the sting on this one. Even Uncle Iroh, the most happy and upbeat character, has a scene where he remembers his dead son, and it's just heart-shredding. It's also kind of sad when I consider that this theme might relate to today's youth way more than it unfortunately should. The last theme I'll mention, and this is kind of a strange one, but it's hair. No, really, hair plays a big part in this show, and I just don't mean because the main kid is bald. Seriously, you can actually track a character's growth from season to season just by how they wear their hair. Crazy, right? I especially like a bit near the end when a character gives themselves a very important haircut, one which symbolizes their descent into total madness. It's good stuff and a cut above your average kid show. So, that's Avatar. I was late to the party, but I'm glad I'm here now. Great, now I gotta wait for Legend of Korra. That is gonna be torture. Shit was so much easier when I didn't care. Well, thanks for watching.
Oh, don't let the cave-in get you down. Don't let the falling rocks turn your smile into a frown. When the tunnel's as dark as that's when you need a clown. Hey! Don't let the cave-in get you down, Sokka.